G'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope that you are super well. Today we're here to talk about a brand new 85mm 1.4 lens. This is a third-party, full frame, full autofocus, full metadata, full aperture control from Kase. What's interesting about Kase is they're traditionally known as a filter provider for the industry. And this is their first full frame 85mm 1.4 fully autofocus lens. We are very excited to see when companies bring something new to the market, giving us even more opportunities and more possibilities when it comes to shooting. Also, what's interesting about this lens, it's shipping for Z mount and for E mount at the same time. Kase decided to ship me the Sony version in this particular, yes, wait for it, case. And so here we are shooting on the Kase 85mm 1.4. This is it right here on the Sony a7 IV. We are shooting in 4K 10-bit, and you can just see how gorgeous that out of focus background is. I mean, just how wonderful that looks there behind me. Absolutely gorgeous. What I have found with this lens, it is a fabulous portrait and people lens, but of course, you know that I love to shoot far more than just portraits. It can be landscapes, it can be cinematic scenes cut from a movie, whether it might be Michael Mann's Heat or Blade Runner. These are the sort of things that I love to see. This lens, it's far more than portraiture, it's brilliant at portraiture. Let's get into some of what it looks like, but here you go. This is what it looks like for me, portraiture, and that beautiful out of focus areas. And speaking of focus, why don't we just have a quick look at how quickly this focuses. And there we go, so good. Just fast, super fast. So there's no question about this lens's performance. There is the case, looking pretty nice there on the Sony a7 IV. We do have an aperture ring, which is both smooth as well as it can be clicked to go fully clickable. Fantastic. We have the AF and MF switch, function 1, function 2. Function 1 can be programmed. Function 2 can be used to lock the focus in a particular position. This is all metal build down here, along with the metal mount, composites up here. Nice degree of resistance. I was actually enjoying using manual focus last night. Of course, we have a USB-C port, so we can update firmware when the OEM, Sony or Nikon in this case, they might change something in their cameras, which means the lens might need to be updated. So that's there. Another thing that Kase give you is a little ND filter that you can actually place over the sensor here. This is not something I wanted to do. Don't really like getting my fingers in there by the sensor. That comes in the box, and in the case of this one, it's a two-stop ND filter. This aperture ring, it's got very sharp teeth on it. It's very firm, so it's got a lot of resistance, this ring, compared to this one, which is smoother. That's a good level. This is a lot. Now, I think they might have made it a lot so that you don't accidentally bump it. I actually still have accidentally bumped it. The other thing I want to talk about is this. This is the Sony a7 IV, which is obviously their kind of entry-level full-frame professional camera. Yes, I have bigger hands, it's true. But my finger, I don't know if you can see it, but my finger actually rubs on these cogs, and that's a little bit like sandpaper, quite coarse sandpaper on your finger. And yes, you can see the impact on my finger there. This is something that we basically, over time, Sony are addressing, because this is more of a Sony thing, because it just simply doesn't happen with Canon and Nikon. I don't want to harp on it, but it's something to think about. If you have big hands, some lenses do this on the Sony, on some Sony bodies. Plenty of lenses don't. It's just something to think about if you have big hands. And I would be at the top 10 or 20 percentile of big hands. It did hurt, and it meant I just had to carry this camera a different way when I was walking around. This is definitely something that you wouldn't experience with the Z mount version. There's just literally more space. And that's because Nikon's grips are further over. They're just literally further over. Something to think about if you're a Sony user, something you don't have to worry about if you are a Nikon user. I love this lens. Optically, let's take a look at it.
Okay, we're going to start where I finished off just a night or two ago. Looking at the metadata, we are on Sony a7 IV with version 5.01 of their firmware. Interestingly, this lens is seen as the Sony FE85 f1.4 GM. Not sure why. Let's start by looking at chromatic aberration. We can see a little bit up here. This is a very harsh situation. We are at 200%. I think that's pretty good. A little bit of it down here in this light as well. But overall, I am happy with this result. We are ISO 3200 150th f1.4 on the 85. Let's jump to what bokeh looks like on this lens. I like this lens. As I always say, I don't mind most bokeh. They're all a little bit different. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for interesting out of focus things. Shapes, impressions when it comes to bokeh. In the center, we can see that they are round and towards the edges a little bit more lemony. There is not too much onion ringing here. Overall, I think that looks lovely. And you can see more of this in a video where it changes from out of focus to in focus. Of course, we can see here the ability to capture handheld at night. We do have very high ISOs at 3200, 1/100th f1.4. Very cinematic. The background areas look very soft. We've got this lovely sharpness here on the paste ups, and I really like the way it's handling this headlight. How sharp is this lens? We are at 1.4. You can see the out of focus areas in foreground and in background at 3200 ISO, handheld at 1/100th of a second f1.4. Lovely fall off. Just great. Everything about this looks great. Cinematic. I'd be happy to see a film shot this way and a character walking through frame. Love this place. This is Metro Auto Photo. This shot is taken at ISO 200 at 1/60th of a second. 100% pixel for pixel. That looks super sharp. Get in there and buy yourself some Kodacolor Gold right in the middle. Or maybe you want to get a quick snap camera or a Kodak camera. This place, all they do two things to the best that I can see, although maybe they do other things. They allow you to take a vintage black and white photo of yourself, 4 pictures in 4 minutes, lasting memories. And no, this is not a sponsored ad read. I just think this place is really cool. What we can see is that just the door here, that's soft, and then the vending machine is probably 3 to 4 meters, 9 to 12 feet behind that, and it looks super duper sharp. And yes, tangible memories. We are now ISO 1600 1/20th of a second f1.4 handheld. An enormous amount of wind this night, but what I'm impressed by, right in the corner, this is the corner of frame, this is looking sharp, it's looking lovely, and we are at 1.4, and then the background is looking very cinematic. Michael Mann, where are you? Is this Miami Vice? Fantastic, love that film. Or is it maybe Collateral? Love that film. Showing depth of field, beautiful out of focus lights in the background. That's the city about 7 miles or 10 kilometers away. The lights in the background look fantastic out of focus. Pretty much the same moment in time, 2 shots, same settings. I've moved ever so slightly. Is this the frequency of the lights flickering? What is going on here? But we have purple fringing in one, just a little bit of it. Let's go to 100%. There it is there, purple fringing. You can see it on the A. It's pretty minor. And then here, well, it's kind of gone a bit more blue. What is that? Is there something going on? Is there flickering? It's really strange to me. If anybody has any ideas about why we're getting that difference, 2 shots taken back to back, is the autofocus slightly different? I don't think so. Very interesting to me. Okay, daytime. Again, beautifully sharp rendered trees and that gorgeous fall off in the background. I really like the way that this lens does business. It's just sharp. It's sort of doing what I said the 35 1.2 did. It has that capacity to be sharp and soft at the same time. Great result. Go to this place if you'd like to get some of these things. Probably the best and most fluffiest pancakes you will ever see. Here we have a little bit of a look at close focusing distance. This was about as close as I can get which is 70 centimeters, I think, or just over 2 feet, 2 and a bit feet. There we are, pixel for pixel. The strawberry's looking pretty good. And there's the super crazy, delicious, deluxe, crazy, expensive pancakes. Just so good. If you want to blow your mind with some sugar and air, because they are so fluffy, there's not a lot going on there. Beautiful. We can see the cyclist here is very sharp and the pedestrian both looking fantastic at 100%. And then we have these gorgeous soft areas in the background. The look of this lens sometimes reminds me a little bit of DSLR lenses, and I feel like it sits somewhere between DSLR style vibes and mirrorless vibes. It seems to be sort of straddling the best of both worlds of those two vibes. I think very cinematic, great for portraiture. Moon, nighttime, file being pushed 2.5 stops and shadows being pushed almost another stop. So we're something like 3.5 stops, 100 ISO, 1/80th of a second. Beautiful kind of gothic result, achievable. Wanted to show you this shot because this is ISO 12,800, handheld at 1/5 of a second. Now my elbows were resting. It's not really handheld at 1/5 of a second, probably something closer to a 15th or a 20th would have been required if I was actually floating in the air. But it was so dark that I couldn't actually see the cat's eyes. I could just see its silhouette. To me, this is pretty impressive. I did have to dial in the focus manually using magnification. I think that's a pretty amazing result considering how dark it was. Portraiture, do you like black and white or color? Same shot. How amazing that blown out background is. That is all in camera. We are sharp enough on our subject for sure, keeping in mind that this is ISO 3200 and thus we do have, yes, a fair degree of grain, but that's a great shot. The Case 85 1.4 is absolutely sharp where it needs to be. All right, well, there we are. There's the Case 85 1.4. I just think it's such a great alternative. It kind of fits in the middle of the market price-wise. Optically, I think it's very spectacular. It has a very cinematic look, which makes me very happy, along with being fantastic for portraits, which is what a lot of people will use it for. I think it's a great addition to both the E and Z mount, getting native versions of this lens. If you'd like to have a quick read of the specifications, please pause. Another little feature with the Case 85 is that the front filter area is magnetized. That means in the box you get a magnetic lens cap along with a standard squeeze lens cap. Of course, you have the lens hood and a UV filter, which is also magnetic. Case has other magnetic filters in their range. This is a very cinematic lens. The background bokeh areas just look absolutely glorious. You can see it in my portraits. You can see it in the cityscapes and the cinematic images. Just actually really gorgeous. Price-wise, it sort of sits between the entry level for these sort of lenses and the top tier. It's kind of in the middle of all of that. And I think it's meeting the market where it actually is. I do think it's a really good optic. It does have a 72mm filter thread, so that's a pretty large piece of glass there at the front. But these days, when we have lenses like the one we're shooting on here, which is the Nikon 35mm 1.2, just a glorious lens, you can see that right now. It's even bigger. I think it's an 82mm filter thread. The Case, I like it. You could get it for Z, you can get it for E. There are lots of options in E mount for 85 1.4, there's a couple. We would expect a lens to be coming to match the 35 1.4 and the 50 1.4 sometime soon. We would expect the next one to probably be an 85 1.4. You may want to wait for that, or this is another great alternative. There are options, third party, first party, when it comes to E. This is another option, and in what I would almost call a crowded space. This is a good lens though. This is a great lens. Now I haven't used the Sony 85, the new one, 1.4. I suspect it's probably better. It costs more. It costs a lot more. This is very good. All right, more importantly than what I think about this lens, which I think is thumbs up for sure, please let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this lens? It's been so good to see you, and if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please do subscribe, please share, and please like. All right, bye for now.